our business partners in this project. Both organisations have been doing a great job and are as committed as anyone else to delivering a quality product that's fit for purpose as well. Today is our first public viewing of ACHknowledge, the new ICT system that will house the ACH directory and also contain other functionality that will support the implementation of the new ACH Act. The system will allow a platform for lodging applications and will also provide a means of communication and real-time sharing of information between Aboriginal people, proponents and the department. The system is currently in the build phase, and what we want to do today is provide you with an insight into how the system will look and function. The demonstration itself today will focus on the ACH permit application process. However, we won't be able to demonstrate some key features that are still being built, such as the process by which Aboriginal parties receive and respond to permit notices from proponents. We are seeking your feedback also on the session, and the session is being recorded, so we request that rather than ask questions throughout the session, during today's session, you provide these through a Mentimeter, which Olivia will brief you on very shortly. Following the session, we'll provide you a pack that includes the PowerPoint video, presentation, and answers to all the questions that have been received via the Mentimeter. I will now just pass over to Olivia to explain how the Mentimeter will work.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Caesar. Very simply, there is a QR code in the chat. If you can scan that with your mobile devices, it requires no login and is therefore completely anonymous. And we're asking that you just place any comments or any queries in the open text field. There's no limit to the number of submissions that you make via the Menti. We will then collate the feedback, organize into key themes and create responses for the queries and incorporate any commentary that you kindly share with us. We really value your feedback. So really keen to get across what your thoughts are. If there's any questions, just pop them in the chat and I will do my best to respond to technical challenges with the Menti. Otherwise, look forward to hearing from you all.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you very much. I will now pass over to Byron, who's going to run through the demonstration today.
Again, just to confirm one more time that everyone can see my screen still. Yeah. Okay, so first up, this is your first view of the portal where you'll be able to log in either using a local login, so just a normal username or password, or you can use your Office 365 login. As you can see from the screen, that you can access the portal from a PC or a mobile device, whichever works best for you. And then your landing page will give you your draft applications, applications that you've submitted, and also applications where final outcome has already been determined. Okay. The first step of the process is starting the permit process. It involves 3 stages: providing the notice details, defining who the recipients will be for the notice, and then giving you a summary, which is essentially the 3 stages of the process. We'll demonstrate all 3 stages. So we'll kick off with first creating the notice details. So I'll give it a title, something to the effect of managing weeds or flora in a park area. And then we'll move on to providing a description. So an example of a description, something to the effect of weeds, invasive woody species are proposed to be removed within an area known as archaeological ACH place. Roots of the plants are planned to be removed, resulting in the disturbance to an area estimated to a range between 1 meter squared to 200 meters squared. Excavation will not occur beyond 1 meter in depth, and tools used for excavation of weeds will include handheld equipment, including spades and cutting tools. So this is just an example. Once we've provided a title and a description of the proposed activity, we then move on to the map, where we're actually going to draw a boundary describing the area that where the activity is planned for, and you'll see that shortly. Okay. All right, there we go. So now the next thing is we're going to expand the map to the full screen. The map control allows you to zoom in. You can change between a map layer or within a terrain layer, which makes it a little easy for you to be able to draw your boundary area where the area of concern is. We can go and select to actually view where ACH actually exists on the map. So all the areas marked in pink with those IDs are actual ACH. Then I'm going to select my drawing tool and then go and actually draw a boundary for the area where my permit applies to. Then once I've drawn that, I can minimize. I'll show you how we switch to a terrain view as well. The terrain view is quite nice when you want to be able to draw an area around an actual fence line. So the terrain view actually allows you to zoom right down and actually to the lot of land where you're going to be working. And there we go. So that's the initial part of creating the notice details. We then move on to stage 2, where we're going to define the recipients. So the recipients of the notice essentially will be the people that will provide feedback. Now, typically the notice period has a 28-day time frame, which means once I create this notice, it'll send out a notice to the recipients that I define, and they will have 28 days to provide feedback on your actual notice. So we'll put in a title. We can also put in a reason for being a recipient, something along the lines of, during the due diligence assessment, it was established that no lacks existed in the area for the proposed work. Attempts to identify the knowledge holders for the area were undertaken. However, no persons were identified. The relevant native title party holder was sent a notice of this proposal, which is attached. Further on, we can also provide feedback from the notice intention, something along the lines of no feedback from initial discussions with the native party have been received. But then obviously once the notice has been sent to the party holders, then they can actually provide feedback on that. And then I'll skip to the next stage. Okay. All right, so in the final stage, we actually review the summary. So this is the entire summary of the notice that we've created. We accept the declaration and then submit as final. This submit as final essentially starts the countdown of the 28-day notice period. You'll notice on your screen there's a case number. This case number carries on or persists throughout the notice and the permit application. So you use this as essentially your reference number for queries throughout the process. In the background, once the notification has been submitted, so that concludes the first stage, then the Heritage Officer will start by checking the notice that was submitted. If it's assessed as complete, then the officer would update the status of the permit submission, making the application available to continue. Once the status has been updated, the proponent simply clicks on edit, and then they can continue the permit application process, which starts off with an overview of the initial notice that you created. We simply select next, and then we start the due diligence process. Start off the due diligence. We'll put the details of the due diligence, so something along the lines of managing weeds or flora other than as described in item 45 in a way that does not involve any of the following: removing of more than 20 kilograms of material, not counting weeds or flora, disturbing more than 200 meters squared of ground in total, disturbing more than 10 meters squared of continuous ground, and excavating to a depth of more than 1 meter. Now, it's important to note that during this process, we don't have to complete the process all in one go. There is a save and exit option, which allows you to abandon the process at any point and come back later and continue. So you simply just save and exit, or save your step at any point. All right. Now the next step The next step will be confirming the boundary. So we're going to open up the map again. And then this stage, actually what it does is it performs a search. So I will redraw or retrace my steps. And for example, if the boundary area has changed, then we can retrace the steps within it. In this case, I'm making the boundary slightly smaller. And this will actually trigger a search. And what it'll do, it'll actually trigger a search that will look for conflicting ACH within my boundary area. And we'll see that in just a moment. And there you see on the top of the screen, the little spinner is going off and searching. Now, depending on the size of the area will depend on how long the search takes. So if you, for example, in this instance, I'm searching over 8.5 hectares of land. If I had to search over 100 hectares of land or 1,000, the search will take a bit longer. So you can always check back later once the search is finished. Once the search is finished, this is what you can expect to see in the next stage, where it'll actually show you the ACH details that actually falls within my boundary. All I need to do is provide a summary statement with regards to risk and harm, risk of harm and mitigation, something along the lines of the weed removal will be undertaken in a method to avoid as much possible disturbance of ground. A review of the information for Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Place indicates the location of the artifacts were not identified at the location of the proposed weed removal. However, the locations are in close proximity to known locations of the artifacts. An invitation to the Aboriginal Corporation has been provided to invite monitors to be present during the works to mitigate impacts during the proposed work, and then see attached for documents. Further to this, I can actually go and update each ACH with additional details for risk mitigation. So you'll see that in just a moment. There we go. And then we simply click on the little red box. It'll pop up an edit, and I can go and select the first ACH and go mark, is there risk of harm, yes or no? If no, then just select no. And if yes, then you need to update the risk assessment, right? So if it's yes, then you'll put the details that you need to complete. In the interest of time, I'm just going to select no and click on submit. Once you're done with that, you can click on next and then progress to the next stage of your permit application. Right. Then when it comes to submitting documents, we'll simply click on attach, and you can attach any relevant documents to support the permit application. There we go. Select next. And then finally, finish off the process by reviewing a summary. So this is a summary of the entire application and notice details that you completed from the beginning of the journey right through to the end. And then to complete, we simply accept the declaration and then submit as final. Select yes. And then your case number that persisted from the beginning of the application process still maintains or persists, as I said in the beginning. And that marks the end of the permit application. Some final things to note is with regards to timers. Each of the business processes throughout the permit application are timed in accordance with the Act. The first timer that is triggered is once the notice of intention is created. There's a timer that runs for 28 days. That is essentially a window that allows the recipients to provide feedback for the notice of intention. Once that timer expires, the process automatically advances to the feedback stage. And the feedback stage is essentially the Heritage Officer will start the timer requesting the Aboriginal parties to evaluate and provide feedback. So that's on the actual application, not the notice. And likewise, an also 28-day timer will run for this period, inviting feedback. Then the final stage, which is the decision stage. Now, this decision stage is a timer that runs and times DPLH, where it gives DPLH a time to be able to respond to or provide an outcome for the application. If the time does expire, the permit application is automatically escalated to the minister. And that wraps up the demonstration for the online permit process. Thank you.
Thank you,
Caesar, over
Byron.
to you. Later.
Yep, Caesar's had to go, so I'll take over from Caesar. But thank you very much, Byron, for the presentation, and thank you all for attending as well. We really value your feedback, and if all questions or comments, which we really appreciate, if they could come through the Mentimeter. I think Olivia's got the QR code there for the cameras on the screen. They'll close at COB today. So we want to make sure that the questions are properly recorded and can be considered appropriately. So obviously the system is still in development and testing and improvement. So obviously tweaks probably will occur before go live. With the questions and comments, we'll be collating these and providing answers in a document and sending out the slide pack along with the responses to the queries. So again, thank you all for attending this session, and we hope it was helpful. And we'll see you later. Bye.